I want to make sure you understand that we're going to be kind of diving into some really interesting things that you may or may not have heard before. And hopefully we're putting them in a place or in a way that you can, to use the food puns, digest them, and maybe they will turn towards something delicious for you. All right, let me share.
I just want to welcome new and old people here. There's people who have been in this conversation for a while, which is a great foundation for us, all ships rising, so that new people can come in. I feel that when new people come in with a foundation of people who've been in this conversation, they rise right away. So welcome.
Absolutely. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes,
Beautiful.
I can.
We, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, Patricia and I have been working on the 3 phases of recovery for a very long time. Individually and then together, we've been working on it specifically for the last couple of years. And one of the major issues for us is, how do we approach the concept that goes and circles around and goes beyond dieting? So if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to know how you are right now. Who are you? Why are you here? Put a word in the chat thread, how you're feeling right in this moment.
We are a vegetable soup, and all vegetables are welcome. There are no wrong answers. What emotion am I feeling in this moment? Put her in the chat. I think that's Elizabeth who wrote that, and Debbie wrote grateful. Jenny is serene. How nice. Christine, need. I get that. Marianne is happy. Linda is happy. Jennifer, I'm here to strengthen my recovery. Jill's happy. Willing. That's all you need. All you need is willingness. Remember that. Curious and calm, Laurie. Hi, Laurie. Somewhat chaotic, but happy. Fair enough. Calm and collected. Yeah, we get used to talking about feelings here. And so thank you for contributing to that. Content, Rose.
And how is it for you? These are all observations that are really helpful. How is it for you to see what other people are feeling in the moment, or what they're prioritizing? Because we all know we're a jumble. You probably came off of some other thing. You've probably got things going on in the day. You've probably got some things happening for you, some big things you've been thinking about from the last week. There's all sorts of things going on for you. So curious about how you're feeling about other people's feelings. We don't, Patricia and I'm 65, Patricia's 80. We have some history, and we have a lot of history around food. We did put together a 20-some minute something that we'll share with you guys, a little bit more information about us. But Patricia, could you give us the highlights and maybe the lowlights of your experience?
Okay, well, I'll try to go quickly on this because we do have another place where you can go further into this if you'd like as an individual to do. Well, I've been doing my own work for a very long time. I have a very strong 12-step background. I got into Bright Line Eating in 2015, which really gave me another look at something I hadn't looked at before, which was kind of the brain connection. I've been involved with Eric Considine's coursework. I'm one of his coaches. I'm a certified life coach. empowerment coach through the work of David Gershon and Gail Straub. And where's the slide? I can't follow it. Say
You
who
don't
I
need to
am.
follow it. You just said everything that you said there. I was just
Okay,
making sure
that's it.
people
And
saw
there's
you.
more, I'm sorry, there's more information that we'll put the link on for you to be able to, I talk more about my background, how I got here, weight loss, and I've been able to keep 60 pounds off for the last almost 10 years now, which I never before was able to do. I was always either gaining or losing. I don't know if anyone relates to that. Okay.
Thank you, Patricia. Yeah, I have a long history of dieting as well. Started out very early, lots and lots of history of sophistication. My system, at 18 months, I was diagnosed with a severe gluten allergy that exacerbated over time. And my dad called me sophisticated when I was 5 and dealing with tremendous asthma and allergies. I was able to figure out in my late 40s that I could make enough changes in my life to relieve me of my asthma. I'm never going to not be allergic to my beautiful woods out here, but I can handle the things that I have now. I've got lots of systems set up in place, and I've relieved myself of the things that were exacerbating my allergies. That was the key for me to recognizing how much food impacted my physical health. I could not breathe. And that relieved me of gluten, which ironically, my mother never connected the dots. At 15 or 18 months, I'm not supposed to have gluten in my life, but I didn't even know this until I was in my mid 30s that I had. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy what our lives.
Yeah.
So I never thought that I would release my weight though. I was able to heal my asthma. I was able to heal a lot of things, but I didn't ever think I would release the weight. I just thought I was going to live with it. Well over 300 pounds for decades. I did go up and down just like you, Patricia. And what I realized was that the piece I was missing was the weighing and measuring that Bright Line Eating gave me. I started Bright Line Eating in 2017, and I have kept off that weight. And that has been a talk about unconscious limiting beliefs of living your life thinking you will never be thin. Living your life, you will never be able to release this stuff that has been coating your system. So yes, I am. We go into a little bit more detail, and the fact is, I recognize the importance of what's going on up here and what's going on here as being very, very helpful in my own journey. All righty. Patricia, do you want to give us a Cliff Notes version of how you came up with this 3 phases business?
So I'm, in a food plan program, right? And we're there because of food, because of our relationship to food. Everybody's talking about the food. And as they're moving on in recovery, they're still talking about the food all the time. And I was asked to be on a call. I was asked to be on a call at one point. Sorry, phone ringing. And they wanted to hear my food story. And I didn't, well, I'm going to talk about my food story. Everyone has their food story. It's so similar. I was on Weight Watchers this many times, and I did this many times. So I, metaphorically speaking, flew up in my helicopter and looked down and said, what am I learning? What have I learned here after being a few years in recovery? And realized there are phases of recovery beyond and through the food issues. Yeah, it starts with food, phase 1. It starts with the food. We wouldn't be here if it weren't about being drawn to something we feel badly about. I don't want to say addiction because I don't care how you look at it. I don't want to get caught in the semantics of it, but we're drawn to food And that's the first phase as we look at our getting our beginning to get our food straightened out. But what happens then? We get our food straightened out, and then I'm hearing from people, I was so good for so long, and then I wasn't. But I did it for 9 months, and now I don't. So what's going on there? We have to move through what's going on to draw us to the food to begin with. So phase one, we're getting our food in order, trying to. Many of us, most of us, can't hold on and keep trying to make it about the food and make it about our not having willpower and making us bad in some way about it. So we need to move into another phase, which is kind of digging deeper into the feelings, the emotions, and how we talk to ourselves. We're not even aware of how we talk to ourselves, of how critical we are to ourselves. So phase two is diving deeper into that, and that's a process that's ongoing. And then phase three is, who am I if I'm not involved with food? Who would I be? I'm only ever involved with food all the time, in some way, trying to fix myself about food.
The
And
interesting thing for me, about this whole process is, first of all, it's not linear. In other words, you don't do phase one and then you go to phase two and then you go to phase three. If you consider the number, in the millions of reasons why we might go to food, each one of those has an opportunity to be in these phases. In other words, you might have a complicated relationship with your sister that you finally realized and relaxed around. You've probably gone through phase one, phase two, and phase three. When you first started, you're angry with your sister and you're chewing on everything. And then you're trying to think, okay, how can I do something about this? What can I control? And when you finally realize that who and what you control is inside of you, then that phase three allows you to release and relax. And that's just on your relationship with your sister. So think about these phases as more of a guideline to realize, okay, I'm going to food. That's my first beautiful neon sign. Something's going up here and I'm going to figure it out. And we're going to talk a lot more. We're spending most of today on phase one. And we'll be going into it a little bit deeper as we go through these next 2 weeks. So hopefully you'll be able to join us.
okay, I don't know if that makes sense, but hopefully that makes some kind of sense for you. It's not just, everything doesn't stop with being on our food plan only. But we come in thinking that's what it is. We have to deepen our own journey. So young Pueblo, from his book Inward, make sure the walls you build to protect yourself do not become a prison. We have built up protection. Like, I'm not an extrovert, I'm an introvert. I can't talk to people. And it's not safe. It's not safe for me to talk to people. I'll only get hurt, waiting for the other shoe to fall. It's protection. It's not evil. It's not bad. It's protection.
And we may not even realize what we're doing, we're isolating from. We need to unpeel some of these layers and open up the peony petal a little bit more.
And that's a process.
It is
a process that Sonia and my work have been in these last, especially in these last 4 years, building. How do we describe this? How do we get past only food, include food, but not only food? How do we describe it? How can we impart it? There's something missing.
I want to say something about the word recovery. It is recovering what we have, what's been piled up on top. We're basically born whole. We're born perfect. And through life experiences, through relationships with others, through depending on others, our system takes on other people's stuff and takes on other things and tries desperately to fit in. And in that process, it's our job, should we choose to accept it, to recover what was underneath, to recover. And that can be both scary and exciting. So the first topic that we want to cover here today is on noticing. It is one of the cornerstones of recovery that Patricia and I, as I mentioned, and as she mentioned, has been working on. We've been refining this process for a very long time. Noticing is the premier, easiest, and most complicated process. And I want to say real quickly, when you are abstinent, when you're not using, let's just not even use that word, when you're not using food to numb or soothe or nurture yourself, we're exposing emotions that we normally try to shut down or shove down. And when we can, it's the sick and twisted part of healing, because as we're releasing the sugar substance or the ultra processed garbage from our system, we're also exposing ourselves to emotions that we've not been able to either experience before or don't feel comfortable in. So noticing is building the awareness of thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and triggers. That's all it is. It's just observing. It's not and curious. Yeah, go ahead.
It's not doing anything. It's noticing. Oh, look what I just said to myself. Oh my God, look what I just said to myself. I said terrible things to myself just now. Where does that come from? It's just noticing, getting wise to what you say to yourself, because we don't even notice what we're saying to ourselves. We're just trying to shape up. And we're not noticing the criticism we use on ourselves and how ashamed we are from our own criticism. And we came by that naturally. And we're just noticing. I don't have to do anything. I just have to notice. Look what I just said to myself. I wouldn't treat, if I said that out loud to a good friend, or I would never say that to them. Just notice that. It's a foundational piece to start stepping back a bit and notice the things we say, because it's those things we say that are driving us to retreat into the comfort, to the comfort of food, or what we think is the comfort of food. It's actually ultimately not comfortable, but that's what's driving us.
It's just the discomfort we're comfortable with.
Yeah.
which is in itself ironic. I want to spend just a moment talking about these other three areas, because we will be following up on these in much more detail. But I want to say something about resonance. There's a phrase that came up for me early on in my education. I've done a lot of research and education on the neuroscience behind things, as well as the emotional and the physiological reasons why we react the way that we do. In resonance is a concept that we will go into much more in detail next week, which is a fascinating concept. But if you can just hear these two words and see how they sit for you: alarmed aloneness. If you think about alarmed aloneness, even if you don't know what that definition is, you have a sense immediately. And you maybe even flashed on a few times when you felt very much alone. You can feel that way in a huge room full of people. You can feel that way in the middle of the night. You can feel that way in any number of circumstances. And what resonance does for us is literally pull us out of that alarmed aloneness and give us connection and communication and accompaniment. So we're going to go into more detail on resonance next week. But again, I know that it must resonate in some way for you to hear alarmed aloneness and know that that is a feeling that we get when we're not being heard or we don't feel safe enough to share.
It's not safe.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get killed in some way. That's the word I have remembered using to myself, that I feel sometimes if I am my real authentic self, This was in the past. I don't feel that way now, but it was a very strong feeling. I feel like I'm going to get killed because I remember saying that out loud in a retreat, uh, and we were talking about what do you feel when you're sharing how something lovely about yourself that's happening, and I thought, I'm afraid I'll be killed. And she said, "You're afraid you'll be killed?" And I went, "Yeah, I'm afraid I'll be killed." So those protections come up, right? And not safe to share my real being.
Yeah. Connection and practice are the other two cornerstones that we feel are vital. Relating to yourself and others, something greater with presence. It counters the illusion of aloneness and requires vulnerability to expose our truths. If we are able to find not just connection, but trusted connection, that's the key to being able to walk. I mean, just think about it, how much easier it is to walk arm in arm with a group of people that feel that are working on the same thing as you. That's what connection is all about. And then practice.
Practice, practice, practice. Practica, 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 Spanish. Practicing it. Oh, damn it. I've been working on this for so long. Why do I have to keep on doing this? Yeah, practice because it's over
It's
at
literally, yeah, it is the only way to heal your neural pathways or to change them or shift them. I don't want to assume that everything in my brain is needing healing, but I do want to know that certain neural pathways that I've established could be shifted. And that's what practice is all about. So when we're talking about noticing in particular, there are multiple different ways that we could notice. Just think about your morning and the opportunity you had for triggers or situations, emotional situations, or just looking at yourself in the mirror. Do you have opportunities where you could shift some things? Are there triggers going on in your brain that are highlighting, in a way, the survival reaction regions? The amygdala is the region of the brain that takes over and literally hijacks the prefrontal cortex. It stops our thinking, planning, organizational language brain from even appearing, because in those moments when we think we're in survival mode, when we think there's a crisis going on, the prefrontal cortex goes offline, our amygdala comes on, and we find ourselves blindly foraging in the pantry. That's because our system has been set up to do that. That is our protection. We get scared, we get frustrated, we get angry, we get grief-stricken, we get anything that is too much. And that's our amygdala scans the system and says, oh, this means food. And that is exactly why. It's ironic to me, it's so ironic that all of our planning, all of our bulk cooking, all of our writing down our food, all of our emergency action plan, it's all housed in the prefrontal cortex. How can you enact a plan if that part of your brain has been hijacked? So this is where the noticing, literally there's an aspect called the noticing brain. Okay. It's not just an act that you do when you're sitting quietly. It's also a process that your brain goes through to pull you out of the amygdala and back into your prefrontal cortex. There is a literal neurological reason why noticing is so important.
It brings you from the amygdala into your center, because if you go, oh, look, I'm freaking out now, as opposed to I'm freaking out now. There's a difference. One stays up here and creates more confusion and gets overloaded. And what happens when we're overloaded? We want to go to something that would calm us down, which usually we pick something, a craving. And
don't have a pick either. We are literally, there is a neural pathway that is the solution. If you think about like an accident happens and all of the emergency equipment comes and takes care of things. They have standard procedures that they walk through. Our brain has a standard procedure for when it feels like it's in fight, flight, or freeze. And frankly, alarmed aloneness is the fourth, but it's not generally accepted. But I like to add that in. Those are all opportunities for our prefrontal cortex to be hijacked. We can't use wise reasoning and we can't use responsibility.
And it's about not being hijacked. It's about noticing, oh, look, I'm freaking out here. Oh, look, this is uncomfortable.
How many of you just now relaxed a little bit when Patricia said, oh, look. Oh, look. Just think about that simple phrase and how much that can help you in your day-to-day activities. Because here's the thing right here. Our bodies were set up to react instinctively to keep us from being killed. Okay? That's the whole point of our limbic system. That's the whole point of our amygdala. That's the whole point of threat response, our vagus nerve. Everything is activated when we perceive an external threat. But here's the mind-numbing craziness about this. It's now almost never an external threat. Now, we might think the annoying brother that I have could be considered an external threat because he's doing something again. He's pissing me off. He's saying something that's so annoying. And oh my God, he's bringing me back to my, 6-year-old days. But we could also say he's not doing squat. He's just behaving like him. It's how I'm reacting to him that is causing me to go to that external concept, that external threat, which activates my cortisol and my adrenaline. It stops my digestive system from acting. Everything gets turned around. How many of us have issues with our stomachs? How many of us have issues with all of those issues? Because we have trained ourselves to not look at anything as other than an external threat. He did this to me. They do this to me. Guess what? Everything, almost everything. I mean, I don't know the last time I felt a literal external threat. I don't know. I do have a knee issue, so I suppose, no, that would be an internal threat. That's me choosing whether or not to walk out in my woods if I might fall.
Sonia, I would say I have felt an external threat, but it wasn't until I came to my center that I said, oh, this is my issue, even though it looks like they're doing it to me. So yes, I react external at first. And then I went, oh, this is my issue because I'm the one reacting. It's mine.
And you and I do utilize IFS, internal family systems, in our work as well. And there is an aspect of that our little ones get triggered. And those triggers feel like an external threat and they perceive it as an external threat.
And you have evidence. You have evidence. You can let me know exactly what they did and when.
Yes, we do.
And it's ours, and our recovery is ours.
Yes, it is.
This takes a while. It takes a lot of repeating, a lot of understanding, a lot of community, and that's what we're setting out to create. That's what we are creating, and we want to invite you to come along.
It's interesting to me about this whole concept. This really hit me between the eyes about a year or so ago, and has really informed so much of my reactions. I still get pissed off at my brother. I still get mad. I still get petulant. I still get righteously indignant and about a lot of things. And I can also say, okay, Sonia, you're spiraling here. Is this really necessary? And is this really something that that is going to serve you? No.
I'm feeling a certain way, and I don't have to feel this. I can feel something else, not in a way that makes me wrong, but just to know I have some choices. Because when we're reacting, we don't feel we have choice. Just boom, we go into it. And as I have found that as I continue this work for myself and as I work with others who are doing this work, that starts eventually to take over. Wait a minute. Oh, I'm really reacting here. I don't have to react this way. It just, it, that literally comes from the amygdala, shifts from being in the amygdala, the trauma, and it goes to another part of our brain, which has ease in it. Spiritually speaking, it comes from our mind. Yeah. Oh my God, I'll never get out of there. And moves when we can say, oh, I don't have, wait a minute. I don't have to feel so horrible here. It goes to my center, to my my capital self, and is there to guide me from there, not from my mind that's going off screaming about how I have to protect myself because it's not safe here.
I think you should read this one, Patricia. It is your quote.
Eventually, we're not saying, by the way, take this hour of us and now you'll never have an issue anymore with your food. That's not what we're saying. Eventually, you will notice that the real cause of problems is not life itself. It's the commotion the mind makes about life's problems. Undoing that starts with noticing what feelings and emotions arise within ourselves. Ooh, I'm really angry. What's that about? I always reacted with anger. Boom, some people retreat, right? Run away. I was assertive. And I eventually learned from noticing and staying with being angry, I noticed I am really hurt. I'm reacting with anger, but what's there is I feel so sad because I feel so hurt. And that is an emotion that can leave fairly quickly. I don't have to be afraid of that. Like, oh my God, I'm going to feel that hurt and I have to not go there because I shouldn't. I have to protect myself from not feeling it. The opposite is true. Oh, I'm feeling really sad. Because like a wave that will float in and out, not dealing with it, it will stay in there.
And can I just say how scary it can be to even sit in those emotions? I think I know it's one of the main reasons people go back to food or break their diet because they're afraid of the feeling that's coming up. I remember the first time I was angry. I chose at a very early age that anger was a useless emotion. There's no point in it. The only thing that's going to happen if I get angry is I'm going to say something I'll regret.
Or you were sent to your room.
Me.
You were sent to your room because you aren't allowed to feel that anger. So it didn't take long to push it down.
No. And when I first felt it, it was shocking to me how loud it was and how intense it was. And we aren't taught. We have used food. Most of us have used food since early days to numb ourselves, to soothe ourselves, to shut down or quiet those emotions. So not only are you numbing yourself from these hard emotions, but you're also numbing yourself from giddiness and delight and delicious joy. You're numbing yourself from those intense emotions as well, which can also be hard. I know people who eat because they're happy.
That's right. I remember, well, that's an emotion.
It is.
And it's a high, actually. There's a difference between being happy and being high. High is that addictive part of the emotion that we have to close down because it's uncomfortable to feel. We feel it's a celebration, but it's really a discomfort. It's like when you get stoned. I know nobody here has ever gotten stoned, but I used to get stoned. And when I get stoned and I wanted to eat right away because I couldn't stand being high. And it's like, why am I getting stoned? Because all I want to do is come down from being stoned. We're funny. We're funny creatures.
Yes, we are. So just to be clear, noticing is actually a thing. It's an act. I used to think of it as, oh, well, that's really boring. You know what? I'm just supposed to sit here for a minute and notice stuff. Now what? Well, it's actually a process. And we've put this together for you to give you an idea about what could happen in the fundamentals of noticing. First of all, if you can recognize your jaw is clenched or your heart is racing, or you've got this out, I call it outsized emotions. Whenever I feel an outsized emotion, that is an opportunity for me to look deeper. I know this. And by outsized emotion, you know, so I'm reacting a little too annoyed at the fact that the dishes didn't get done, or I'm reacting a little too annoyed at somebody being late, or somebody didn't pick me up. Somebody forgot about me. I have an outsized emotion, and that's usually a little one, a little part, but recognizing that physical sensation, which is basically a flood of cortisol generally, or something that is just too much. You want to talk about grounding, Patricia?
Yeah. If I can recognize, oh, I'm reacting here. That's the big step, actually. It sounds so simple, right? Oh, I'm reacting here. But if I can right get to that moment where I go, oh, look what I said to myself. Oh, I'm really reacting here. Oh, if I can just stop trying to fix myself and just take a breath and be where I am in that moment. That takes practice. But grounding myself, like, okay, I'm noticing something here, and relax into it rather than we have been trying to fix ourselves all our lives, and we're running ourselves into the ground by trying to fix it. What if nothing's wrong? What if something is coming up in the moment as an opportunity to be looked at? So, but that takes us to shut up for a second and just say, I'm noticing this. Just take a deep breath. I actually don't know what to do about it now. I don't really have to do anything about it now. I just have to notice. Oh, I'm noticing. Oh, I noticed that I did this today. I noticed that I reacted to this. We can write it out or we can talk to someone about it. And we're going to get into that through the work. Ultimately, we're not really hitting it now. We need to talk to people who'll just let us say it, not try to tell us what to do about it. Did you try this? Oh, when this happened to me, I did that and it worked. No, no, no. We just need to be heard because we were shut down as little ones. We may not even remember it. We may remember it, but we've been shut down and we have to allow ourselves to be. And that requires grounding. And it's as simple as a breath. It's as simple as a breath. It's as simple and deep as just taking a breath.
I really can't say enough about the other aspects of this either. About, for me, the hardest part about just noticing was a feeling that, oh, well, I guess I can't control this in this moment. I guess I can't solve this in this moment. I may not even be able to come up with a solution about why I'm so outsized in my emotions. But
Probably won't. You
no,
probably
you probably won't. But what you will do is literally pull yourself out of your amygdala so that you can at least use the rest of your brain. And you will be calmer and centered. Your vagus nerve will relax. Your vagus nerve will recognize the shift. Your jaw will become less clenched. Your heart may not race.
Oh, there's a hand.
Did you have a question, Kathy?
I want to just say that I have learned so much from both of you. It's about the community that I'm in, that I'm with you, that I feel comfortable enough to share the problems and issues that I have. And the fact that I've come a long way and I'm losing weight and I'm staying bright in a sense. I mean, I'm not part of that anymore, but I'm part of this group here. You're a gift to me. Absolutely. The fact that I can join and jump on and speak, and I can ask for help. And yesterday I asked for help, and the person actually texted me and said, by the way, did you get to that box? It's been in the back of my head for like months, this box sitting next to my chair at my Zoom table. And I did it yesterday. I did it. Thank you for the help. Thank you for the support. And the person that's on today knows who I'm speaking of. It's like we connect. It's just something about being able to connect and communicate and to love each other. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy.
Kathy.
So thank you. Recognizing this process. I have heard this is more than anything the biggest game changer. And I know what it does to us physiologically. I know what it does neurologically. And it's a very basic process. We go from recognizing and then taking a grounding moment. I like to do what I call straw breathing, taking a deep inhale quickly and an exhale out slowly. That calms your nervous system, that calms the vagus nerve, that tells your brain that everything is fine. And it also gives you a minute. It allows you to take a beat. And then observing the stream of thoughts and emotions without getting immersed and swept away, that takes practice. That takes practice.
What if nothing's wrong?
Yeah. Recognizing, wait a
Just
minute.
say that,
That
right, that moment. What if nothing's wrong? Well, what the heck does that mean? Well, maybe this is coming up for me to learn something. Ooh, that's a huge step, and that takes a lot of practice.
Essentially cultivating the watcher state of awareness helps not fuel the fire. We all know how it feels to be curious about things. When you're in curiosity, you are in your authentic self. It brings a higher capacity back online and reorients us to firm present moment stability for redirection out of the temporary cascade responses, those outsized emotions that aren't serving us. There is no mystery to the miracle of self-healing. It is courage, commitment, and consistency that move us from misery to inner peace. I gathered my habits and started releasing the ones that can never lead me to lasting freedom and joy. We
And I
know
just,
what they are. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just want to say that courage, it takes courage, does not feel like courage. Courage feels like fear in the moment. Never feels like courage. You know, when you break through something and somebody says that that takes so much courage, and, that's the last thing it feels like. It felt really scary to do that.
We can release the things that are no longer serving us. Think about, I mean, when I think about what I was in my early 20s in college, oh dear God. And that was before any of the work that I've done in this particular venue. But we are all different from who we were, and we will continue to shift. And it's up to us to decide what direction we want to move into. So before we finish up, we just wanted to run through the concepts of phase one of a little bit deeper. We talked about the 3 phases of recovery early on. And phase one covers these particular areas. Noticing your inner critic. I frankly found my inner critic to be annoying as hell. Why am I talking to myself this way? But the more that I realized my inner critic was actually trying to help, they just didn't have all the information. It really does help to not be pissed off at parts of ourselves. It really does help to recognize, well, that part just really needs to get on board with this particular thing. That part needs to relax around this area, I think. So since I am driving the bus, I'm going to decide, are we going to have a party in the bus, or are we going to have, a cat fight? And then we also go into criticism, moving to curiosity. Because that criticism is the key, right? It's the light that tells us, so wait a minute, is that really true? Wait a minute, I've been believing this for a long time, but is it really true? You want to talk about examining core beliefs?
Yeah, core beliefs, like we don't even know they're core beliefs. We think it's the truth. Nobody ever pays attention to me. Nobody ever listens to me. So something will happen. I get triggered because I'm not being listened to, because it's from an old thing from a childhood nobody ever listens to me. Core beliefs, things that we believe. A core belief for me was I am too much. I'm too much. I have to hold myself down because I'm too much. I upset people. But can you hear what a child, that's such a young message that I got from the people around me. But it was a core belief that I had, that I was too much. So it wasn't long before I would see how overwhelming and how I was for people, because I kept replaying that, because it was my belief.
And many of these are unconscious. I know for me, a lot of them addressed the idea of, like I said earlier, I didn't think I would ever lose the weight again. I had that and that's ridiculous when you think about it on its face. And yet I have data that showed I cannot keep this weight off. I'm not even going to try anymore. That's too hard. Not only that, but I've heard it's unhealthy to keep losing weight and then gaining it back again. So I just stop, right?
That's right. I'm hurting myself.
Right.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Right. So part of the process that is important is not letting go of the idea that there is a program out there that is going to work for me. I believe we need to modify the program to work for ourselves. We know the basics, we know the understanding, we know the concepts. We need to modify these to fit our own lives and our own personalities. And a piece of that is recognizing these rules are there, but are they really going to work for me? Understanding and letting go of rules that are not serving us. That's part of the personal pathway. Noticing your habitual patterns around food and the self-talk. And having patience. That's the hardest part about this. There are all sorts of things out there now that feel like we're going to not have to work anymore. We're not going to have to work at our stuff anymore.
Yeah, I just want to get there.
Right.
Just tell me, how do I get there? Because I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be done with it. Let me get there. I want to be done. It's lifelong. Sorry.
Well, and that if you were to just let go of that, like at some point I'm going to land the plane. At some point I'm going to be done. At some point, I don't have to think about this anymore. What if instead you relaxed about that and thought of recovery as a lifelong journey? There are new lessons I'm always getting in my face saying, oh, I wonder what the universe is trying to teach me today.
No.
I
It's
call it
actually,
SWCC.
oh, I'm sorry.
Stuff. No. SWCC, stuff we can't control. Things get smacked into us all the time that we either deal with or don't, or are proud of the way we dealt with them or not. But the fact is, none of this is going to change overnight. It's not. But I do know they're game changers. Noticing is a game changer.
And I want to say, we also have it in our heads that we're starting over. You are not starting over. You have come this far. You have gained some knowledge, and you're starting from where you are. You're not starting over. That's a voice that we say to ourselves, that we beat ourselves up with. No, you're not starting over. You're starting from where you are. And you have gained wisdom along the way. You have learned things.
I'd like for you to take a breath right now and tell us how you're feeling. What are you noticing right now?
In this moment, what are you feeling? No wrong answer. I'm here to strengthen my recovery. Oh, okay, I've gone backwards. Let me go forwards here. Anxious, relaxed, interested, no wrong answers. Comfortable. Oh, great, Kelly. Judy has anxiety. I said that already. I want to start noticing more. Barb, yeah, that is, you already have. And it's just continuing to continue. I'm glad you feel relieved, Marianne. I'd love to know why, but one word is fine.
You know, it's interesting to me. Each one of these words brings up something for me internally, and I feel a very strong empathy for all of these words. Some are easier to hear than others. Some are challenge parts of me inside of me, and that's an opportunity for me to notice as well. I really appreciate the concept of being able to sit for a minute and just to be curious. Yeah.
Actually, Judy has moved from anxious to curious in a couple of so you've already moved in that direction. Great.
And we can be both, right?
We are all those things. We're all those things. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Why are we here? We want to teach you some things. There are going to be 3 classes that we are going to be offering free of charge with no reason to expect anything other than to hopefully get your input and your connection. In these 3 masterclasses, we are offering the information that is here. We have a course that we've run already once. It lasted 6 months under the live version. And this time we're offering what we're calling hybrid watch parties, which is an opportunity to watch with Patricia and I every Saturday morning, starting August 24th. We'll be doing either a watch party or coaching calls on those Saturdays. And we'll be offering an opportunity to go through this Art of Recovery course with you. The first phase will be the first 4 classes. And there will be an opportunity on the second coaching call to help you with your food program and your food plan, making any changes that you've found are just not working for you. I don't care what food plan you have. I don't care if you don't have a food plan, but what we're doing here is working with you to help you figure out all of the reasons that you go to food. There are some people who are working really diligently on their third phase recovery in many, many areas and still have yet to figure out exactly what their food plan is. Frankly, my food plan has changed multiple times over just this last 7 years for a number of reasons, mostly because of my sophisticated system. But I've also had a number of issues. My mom and dad both passed this last year and a half, and I got to experience what it's like to live with a lot of stress, a lot more stress than I was used to. So the concept behind this 3 months plus is to walk with you, to continue to perfect these areas, these issues, these concerns that you might have, to continue to whittle down, to create and to move you from that big piece of marble that Michelangelo started with to your own version of the David. I'm really excited about this. I'm going to put the link in the chat thread. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Is there anything you want to say about this, Patricia?
No, I'm just actually answering somebody who is in the, I love reading what you have to say in the chat. Yeah. We're just sharing what we've learned from our own journey and from seeing the effect that the things we put together and continue to put together, because Sonia and I still continue to deepen and add things as we get deeper awareness. Because doing this work, you just deepen and deepen and deepen, and it gets exciting as opposed to scary. Initially, things were scary to look at. I find now I've shifted over into being really excited about something new I've learned about myself. Oh, look what I just did. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we're sharing that. Hopefully you got something out. I see 2 people already left the meeting, so it's fine. You don't have to hear this part that we're talking about now. We hope that you get something in the hour that you listen to. If you'd like to go deeper in a community that knows the direction they're going in, and it's not all about perfection, et cetera, et cetera. It's just about learning and deepening. That's what our course is about. This is something really unusual that we're doing. We're repeating the course that we did as a watch party. So you'll be hearing the course, each individual episode, and we're going to do it together. So we'll be on a call together, and Sonia and I will both be there and answer questions and things that come up, and putting things in the chat as things come up, so that we're deepening what we've already learned. And this is a conversation that has to keep on going. I feel no embarrassment about asking people who've already done it. Come on, continue the conversation. Stay in the conversation. That's what we have to do. Otherwise, our neural pathways take over and we go back to what we've always done.
Absolutely. I consider this a gift. And when Patricia and I first ran this program, we weren't sure what was going to happen with it. We weren't sure how it was going to be received. It has been so well received that the majority of the people that were in the class the first time are joining again. So I want you all to hear that this is a strong, robust space for outside the box healing. Outside the box healing. Away from, but adjacent to whatever food plan you're committed to, excited about. We're here to support you. and help you whittle away at those reasons that you've gone to food for so many years. All right. Really
Yeah.
appreciate your time today.
Yes, yes.
Really
And
appreciate it.
hope to see you next week, or we do have this on recording. So if you can't make it, hopefully you'll listen to it. Just want to catch these messages, Sonia, before we run off here.
Thank you so much. Appreciate and love all of you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, Debbie and Jill.
Yeah, love
And
it.
as we're just continuing the journey, but we don't have to be alone. And it's not about always eating perfectly
Right.
and being punished when we don't, because we're the only ones who really are punishing ourselves about it.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we're a community of people who were sticking to a plan until we weren't. You're not alone. So we go into causes and then begin again, begin again, begin again, begin again, as we're learning.
I'm really excited to go deeper next week into resonance and phase 2.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, this is going to be a fun conversation next week. So stick around. If you aren't able to attend next week, please message me to make sure that you get the recording. I'm not sure exactly. I don't mind handing it out to every Tom, Dick, and Harry and Jane, Joe, and Joanne and Jill, but up to you on whether or not you're able to attend next week. It is going to be a really wonderful call. I'm looking forward to it. Have a wonderful week. Please reach out if you have any questions, and happy noticing.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it so much.
Bye, everyone.
Oh.